All right. Welcome, everybody. This is going to be webinar 3. We're still going to host one on Monday. You're probably watching this advanced since we're going to send this out through the Arbiter. Again, a different style. We're going to have a little bit of a fireside chat, if you will. Even though Al and I don't have a fireside, we can pretend in our minds at least and have some fun. But we felt this series and this training this year, we want to do some things that are not just about mechanics and not in the rule book, things that really help us as officials and also make us more confident on the field. And have us have a much better game entirely throughout the continuity of the season. So Al's topic tonight is going to be the importance of a post game. We're not simply just talking on what choice of tavern that you pick for your post game location, but once you get off the field, you get to a safe location at your cars, nobody's around you. You're if you have a locker room setting as well, it's a great place for this, but that 5 or 10 minutes after a game to review and kind of reflect on what you did. So I don't want to steal too much from Al. I'm going to let him talk. So the first kind of question is, why do we even need a post game, and why do we have a post game? And thanks again for joining us for this webinar, Al.
Hey guys, hey, thanks for having us. Sorry, I'll be working Monday night, but I told Rob that I thought a post game is an interesting topic because we all pretty much do it, and how we do it is different amongst everybody. What I like to do in a post game is, after the game, we head off the field as quickly as possible, just get away from the fans and everybody. Take your quick showers and get out of the school. I never like doing a post game in a locker room because you really don't know who's listening outside that hallway. And you just don't want to stay at the school. So we pick a local establishment that we all know of, given the school that we're doing. I think it's really important to have a post game, particularly when you have new officials, like maybe the first 3 years of their officiating. I think it could really help them improve their game. And what I mean by that is what I like to do is like to make fun of myself during the game, because I'm always making something crazy going on, whether I'm pointing in the wrong direction or what have you. And it's how we recover after those little mistakes. And I like to talk about those in the post game. It was like, did you see how I pointed? And I was yelling the right color, but I was pointing the wrong way. But what we did was we stopped the game and we made sure that everybody was set, the coaches were set, and then we blew the game back in play. Also during a post game, you need to know what kind of officials that you're officiating with. Is it somebody like a Rob Hull or a Mike Inventino who's been around forever and has done a million games, and you can gain some insight from them? Or are you a brand new official that may have a lot of questions? Why did you call that a loose ball push when the guy had possession, or something along those lines? And it's all about really game management. The only way a post game would work, in my opinion, as well, is if you're brutally honest with each other. I have no problem being critiqued. That's how you learn. There's things that we all learn every year. This year, I think one of my biggest learning experiences is at the very beginning of a pregame. We go out and grab the captains and we walk out together and meet up with the referee. If anything goes awry during the course of a game, the post game is where you want to bring it up and have a few laughs. And I think with laughter, it's always an easier way to learn things. There may be a situation where you didn't understand why there was a face-off violation, and it was just lingering in your mind. These are the times when you want to bring all of that out. How was the crowd? What was the crowd like? What were the coaches like? If we know that one particular coach can be really loud, why is he loud? It's probably never personal with the coaches, but they're there to protect their players too. So did we not tighten up the game quick enough, or did we not play a loose enough game? Those are the things that we kind of want to discuss.
And Al, within that, in terms of what is that post game, as you're saying within that game management, do you talk about how long the game took, right? How were our dead ball scenarios? Is it just the calls that we made or our partners made? What else kind of goes in there? Do we look at what flags we threw and
Yeah.
how we dealt with coaches?
Yes, exactly. One of the first question I always ask is, how long did the game take? You know, a good varsity game may take, you know, an hour 45 to an hour 50 minutes. You know, did you go over 2 hour mark? Why did you go over the 2 hour mark? Were you a little slow in regrouping after a timeout? Was the halftime a little long? You know, how was the pace of the game? You know, I want to teach guys that the flow and pace of the game is very, very important. I learned that from our members of like Ted Murphy and Mike Infantino and you, Rob, is, you know, you can have two bad teams, but if you keep that pace going, you're engaging these kids constantly instead of like waiting for them to walk over and pick up the ball and walk back in where it should have only taken 2 seconds, but it was more like 15 seconds. You know, you want to keep these kids engaged and in the process. The other thing you want to look at is, you know, did you throw the same amount of flags for each team or close to that? Or was it really one-sided? Maybe the game was one-sided. Some team was just a bunch of animals, you know? And did you use the escalation properly in adjudicating the fouls? So yeah, you want to cover all of those things. But more importantly, I just wanted to make sure that the game got in at a certain time, that shows that you had pretty good game management in terms of, you know, it could be a 30-goal game, but I got it in an hour 50 minutes with my crew because my crew hustled. You know, after every goal, we picked up the ball, we handed it to the other official or tossed it to the other official, depending if it's a 2 or 3 man game, and you know, we got the game going in a quick format. You know, did any of the coaches bring anything up that maybe we have to go to Rob and get a clarification maybe of how things are done? Like for example, I just had an incident where it was an over and back, and I called 2 of the calls. I quickly stopped it because they were going to engage, and then the third time was the kid was wide open, and the coach was yelling, "Why didn't you stop the game?" You know, those are things that we want to talk about in the post game. Certainly, any ejections, we want to definitely talk about those. You know, did it really warrant an ejection, or was there something else we could have done? So these are the things. You know, it's never picking on anybody. We're never, you know, you're a fool. What the heck are you doing calling that? Or you didn't throw enough flags. You know, those are things that we want to talk about. But I think in general, to keep it on a positive note all the time, you know, we want to find the good and maybe what we can improve on.
And to jump off of that, how do you, and if you can frame it as a veteran and as a rookie, let's say you're the R, and it's your crew, is how do you give that praise and also that constructive criticism to a veteran and to a rookie, right? We don't want to go as far as it's not just pure ego strokes, and we also don't want to make that person feel bad, right? That you had a terrible game and you shouldn't be doing. No, we should be building people up. So how do you deal with both that praise and that negative for both veterans and the rookies, if you will?
Yeah, well, I think like for example, I just got off the phone with somebody. You know, we're already doing a pregame for a game that we're doing tonight. You know, and one of my partners, wow, you know, somebody else had made a comment that he's not moving really well. You know, in the post game, those are the times where you want to, you know, hey Parker, you know, the guy's like what, 92 years old. I love you, Parker, but but he gets up and down the field pretty well. You know,
Yeah.
you want to comment, and you want to comment on the rookies too. Hey, don't run past me. You know, I'm the single side. You're the trail. Don't run past me, type of thing. But you want to comment on, hey, great job. You were always there when I looked. You know, we had good communications during the course of the game. And on the other side, which could be a little harder, you know, hey, you really didn't throw any flags when they were on top of you, and I didn't want to go fishing in your pond, if you will, type of thing. But you know, you want to do the best game that you can, and you know, you just want to point those things out. Sometimes, like
Mhm.
maybe you're hanging at the 50 too long. Maybe you got to come down just a little bit more, type of thing. But it's more of suggestions than it is negativity.
Mhm.
It should never be negative because we just went through, you know, a situation with two coaches and two teams that anything could have gone bad. Of course, it usually doesn't, but you just want to focus on the positive, all the elements of, hey, great flags. You understand the concept of, was that really a hard push or an accidental trip? How did you make those kind of calls?
Yep. And I agree. I had a veteran official always say there was always going to give you two good things and two bad things you did. And then in the post game, then you got your third, right? If you will. And they kind of went back and forth to, again, not overload you, as you don't want to overload on praise of, Al, you had such a great flag, and then you got the end line, and then you got the crease, and then and then you're gonna be like, oh my goodness, everything's perfect, right? And then
Yeah.
and you don't want to swing that balance to the other side either and say, hey, I need you to work on 13 things, right? Even as a veteran, if we just say, especially as partners, if we even concentrate on one thing for the half, right? Hey, and that's the one my rule of thumb when I'm working with a younger guy of, I ask them what you want to work on today. How can I also support you on what do you think you're not good at? Right? And sometimes it's super simple of I'm really, soft on my restarts when the goalie's got it, or I don't run to that end line, carry through. So cool. As a partner, maybe I will focus on that more too. I'm going to make sure every restart on the goalie, it's the most absurd Matty Palin restart of the year, right? But again, that allows your partner to get into it too. So I always think that's good. And kind of the last question I have for you, and you already touched on that, if you're uncertain about things, but how do you carry that post game throughout the season and kind of build that camaraderie and that relationship? Do you touch base with somebody, especially if you had a question? So as you said, if you reach out to an interpreter or another veteran official, do you text them? Do you email them? Do you just wait till the next game, or do you call them? What's your personal method of making sure that your crew, they do hear from you if they had a little bit of uncertainty, or if you had a constructive criticism, they're kind of following up on it?
Well, if you think R of the game, and I'll use Manny Lopez, right? Because um, he's my guy. So this year, if I call Maddie and say, hey, look, let me get back to you. Let me talk to Rob. Get back to him. Call the guy back, but seek other advice from other people. I mean, I certainly don't know all the rules, type of thing.
Neither do I.
Yeah, no.
That's why we have Burnin, right? That's why we got Burnin.
Right, John Burnett. But and the same token too, most of the things that we have, we can talk out. Like, does it make common sense? Was it an advantage, disadvantage type of thing? Like for example, when you made your comment, I remember like the guy may be going away from me, so his back is to me, and there's a really good check onto his stick and arm, and bounces up and hits him in his head. I don't make that call because I really can't see it, but it makes contact to the head, and the new official may throw the flag and say, well, that was head contact. Well, it actually bounced off the guy's stick and hit him in the head. Those are the things you want to kind of talk about. Yeah, all right, you threw the flag and we adjudicated the flag, but maybe we can hold that next time. And those are the things that you want to learn. If you can take a little bit away from each game, you're going to be well ahead by the end of the season, type of thing. And I think it's just fun, and it builds the camaraderie that the sport was built on in the very beginning. John Matthews and I, the funny thing was, like, we're going to go to Eastern Connecticut. We don't even talk about the name Eastern Connecticut. We talk about the post office, the Willimantic Brewery. Hey, where's your game? Willimantic Brewery, things like that. So it's all fun. It's definitely a time, the post game is the time to relax, talk about any kind of injuries, especially if you got hit, because there's been a couple of people that have been run over already in preseason. So you want to make sure that your guys are okay, make sure the ice is getting on it, or what have you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we appreciate you taking the time for this non-fireside chat. I think I'm going to start on these, right? It's fortunately getting warm outside. So for those of you, again, having games this weekend, this will be published on Friday. Good luck, stay safe, have some fun, as we said, and have a good post game too. Thanks again, Al.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, guys. Stay healthy.